Okay, good evening. Tonight is December 7th. It is 7:20. This is the parking committee, December Parking Committee. I'm Lisa Dorsey. I have Nick Allen and um, Bernie Flynn is MIA. We are going to get started. Call the meeting to order. Second item on the agenda, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we're moving on to the Garage Management Monthly Report. Barb?
Good evening, Forrest Freeman with Reef In Park. How are you tonight? So, as the numbers show, we are still running above the budget. We are still running above last year. Obviously, not a big surprise to be above last year. Transient, well, get into the graphs on the next pages, you'll see that there was a dip in November, which I'll explain. Really, the interesting part is comparing it to 2019. We're up by roughly combined about almost $9,000 for both locations as you compare the same month in 2019. Also looking at comparing 2019 year to date, we're approximately $82,000 down. We've actually made up quite a bit of headway in 2021. Anticipate that continuing in 2022. Garages are relatively full. We still have the construction occurring over at Bicentennial. We're moving down through the garage. It has finished up at Chestnut Street, so everything is open over there. But we do have a waiting list at Bicentennial, time being construction finishes up. The weekends have been a little quieter. We have a staff member now at Bicentennial until 3 o'clock in the morning. Helped smooth the flow out, so that has resolved some of the issues that we're experiencing. Staffing levels have been kept in terms of personnel at the same levels. Garage cleanliness is always a focus. And on the expense side of things, we are $88,000 favorable to budget. A large amount of that relates to snow removal, and also we are on budget in payroll. We are favorable compared to last year, and that's because our credit cards expenses increased as the revenue has increased. Age. Terms of, and next ones are average tickets and daily revenue. See a little bit of a dip as we head into November. This is typical. Every November we see something similar, probably the holidays. So we typically have an uptick in October. It's a little bit longer month, and then down in November. Same with the revenue. Same type of a dip. Something that occurs. We're still, posting our numbers that are better than what they were. Last one is how it's been. We're still trending well. Everything looks good, especially as we look back towards 2019. Continuing into the holidays and 22 being better, especially if we can get through.
Mr. Flynn, any questions? Mr. Allen?
Thank
Holidays.
you. Oh, same to you.
Questions from anyone in the audience? Mr. Metrick, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just a quick director's report. I submitted a few printouts to the committee. That's the sum total of my production, but I want to talk about a few things. Repairs at the Chestnut Street Garage have completed. They came in under budget, and we are now scheduling the elevator hoistway cleaning that has to take place because of the sandblasting material that got into those areas. So we're getting on the schedule for that, and we are all done at Chestnut. Everything is open for business at Chestnut. And repairs at Bicentennial Garage have begun. I am not confident that the schedule that's been proposed by the contractor is going to be tenable, but maybe I should be more optimistic. I don't know enough myself about concrete curing temperatures, but I know how cold it gets in December. And pace of that work and the ability to finish that within 60-day timeframe is going to be largely determined by weather. So we may run into some cold weather where we aren't able to complete that project. So I'm anticipating more of a late winter, early spring completion, with the last phase of that project being the facade cleaning that'll take place in the spring. I had originally thought the facade cleaning was going to be the first thing we get done. It's actually turns out it's going to be the last thing we do, which makes sense from a logical standpoint. So that work has just gotten started, but I don't anticipate they'll be able to meet their proposed schedule for the reasons of the weather. Let's move on, if you don't mind, to I don't have a copy, but you have the copy, the budget versus actual report. Traditionally, I've been reporting on the three major revenue items for the parking fund. Tonight, I give you a spreadsheet on budget versus actual for all revenue and expense accounts in the parking fund. And it's a lot of good news. Bottom line, revenue is beating budget by $611,000, which is about 15%. Beat budget, we're going to beat budget on parking ticket, garage revenue, and we're just about going to fall just 30,000 short on parking meter revenue for the year. Did have a slow November, just like Forrest was talking about in the garages. It was the same thing happened at our parking meters. I also think some of that's depressed because we didn't get that second week coin pickup on the Friday after Thanksgiving. They came in following week, so maybe we'll see a little bump there. But overall, I'm really happy because we originally thought we were going to be around $4 million. We came in at 4.6, or we were going to come in at 4.6. Based upon what I know what I'm guessing we're going to bring in the next 3.5 weeks. And I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen because that's a small time frame to predict. On the expense sides, we are trailing payroll-related expenses are projected to end the year $80,000 under budget. So we had budgeted a little over $1 million. We're going to come in at around $1 million for that one, largely due to lower costs in insurance, workers' comp, and employee health benefits. So I want to look a little bit harder at that one again, make sure we aren't making some miscalculation in health benefit numbers because that looks a little lower than it should be. So I'm going to test those assumptions again. On the operating expense side, those non-payroll expense items, I have the parking fund about breaking even. I know the bottom line there says minus $351,000, but if you look to transfer to capital fund, we're going to spend about $500,000 in 2021. Those are our capital project expenditures, money being transferred from parking fund to the capital fund to pay for those capital projects. I think it's, from a bottom line perspective, it's not fair to say we saved $380,000 because we didn't spend it yet. We're still going to do those capital projects. They're just going to become payable next year. So I like to put that money back in to my thinking about how we're doing. And we're about breaking even on operating expenses in that regard, and we're going to be about 1 or 2% under our total expenses if you take that 380 and again. Bottom line, we are going to beat budget. Actual cash, we're going to beat budget. Our net revenue is going to beat budget by about $1 million. I wanted to share that with you because it's good news. The parking fund sends an awful lot of money to the general fund to fund normal operations. I'll have to look into why the transfer was a little bit larger than was, but so far we've transferred 1.543. Should have been 1.523. I'll talk to Barbara about that. But I just wanted to share that with you, that we've been able to keep expenses pretty much in line. I see some garage maintenance expenses to get booked by the end of this year. The it's going to cost north of $12,000. Worked out a settlement agreement with the painting contractor to pay for about half of that. But overall, a good year. I hope you're happy with this news, because I've certainly been nervous about this all year long, and I'm really happy that where the plane's landing.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, it's great news, Mr. Metrick. Thank you for the details. It's very helpful.
And I will say that we have extended an offer of employment to a part-time parking enforcement officer. I'll share with you that person's name once they pass employment checks, but we're really excited for that person to start. They should start shortly. And I'll introduce you all when the time comes.
Sure.
I can send you the exact numbers in an email. I don't know them off the top of my head. But I think we were budgeted around 350 for the Chestnut Street garage repairs, and I know we were at around 283 spend. However, your bicentennial garage repairs, the budget number was below. So really, it turned out to be a wash between the two garages. What we saved on Chestnut, we're going to be spending on bicentennial. And lastly, for my comments, I haven't been able to get really out of the barn yet, but our planning conversation for 2022 and what we want to do. Been working with the IT department to develop a form to facilitate parking utilization counts, and I already have an idea in place to make that part of our normal routine for the parking enforcement officers to submit counts of cars on streets at different times of day, during the shifts, different days of the week. So we can build a utilization database that can help as council members and us as staff make decisions about policy future. We have one policy issue, for instance, that's coming up where the Westchester Public Library is looking to establish a loading zone outside right in front of their front door. And the question comes down to, is parking tight enough up there that we need to designate a certain amount of valuable curb space to just loading and unloading? Can't make that decision if we don't really know how it's being used and at what times of day it's being used. So Hector and his team are doing a site-specific car count in that neighborhood to help answer that question. We're gathering that information, but I'd like to be able to have all that information at our fingertips, make decisions in the future. So that's as far as I've gotten so far with what I want to do with next steps with parking policy and planning. But I look forward to working with some more on this next year. I will continue to function as director of parking and dedicate some of my time to looking at these strategic issues with parking, and then meeting with the parking committee next year about it.
Anything else on the 2022 plan? Questions from council? Questions from the audience? On to 7, consider request for a handicap parking space at 3 South Brandywine.
Mojica, the parking supervisor. I had a resident came to the office a few months ago, and she requested a handicap space, a sign be placed at 3 South Brandywine Street. Provided all the documents. She gave me the letter. application, placard, and ID card. That's required for the state of PA. Right now, this current time, there's one handicap space at 9 South Brandywine Street. Talking to this individual, she does require a handicap space. She really needs it. So, you guys go approve her.
I don't have any issues with that. Approved. Next item, Mr. Mojica, is the removal of a handicap space at 217 West Lafayette.
Last week you approached me, stated a person that used to live there doesn't live there any longer, which is true. We conducted a survey starting back on November 30th, ended on the 3rd. Had 2 officers conduct the survey 3 times in the morning, daytime, and 3 times in the evening times. There were cars parked there a few times. They were parked there with no placard. So one person got a ticket back. But no one with a handicap or disability parked there at those times for those 4 days that the survey was conducted. So, and I recommend that sign gets removed.
Questions? From anyone in the audience? Thank you, Mr. Mojica. Last, number 9, approval of the parking committee from last month. Mr. Allen? And any other business? Adjourned at 7:38. Thank you.